to the T-Roh Show. Transmitting truth one week at a time.
Welcome to the 36th broadcast of the T-Roh Show. It's your host, Keith, Tony, and Stu. Say hello, guys.
Good afternoon.
Hello, everyone.
We have a guest on the program we'll be introducing towards the second half of the T-Roh Show today. We've got a couple of bombshells for everybody. And yes, I am not on a plane, so I can say bomb. So what we can do here is we're going to talk about a couple of things in the beginning to try to explain what has actually occurred, not what is going to occur. So you guys are going to be pretty excited about this program. Please share it with your friends. Like I said, when I say bombshell, I literally mean this is going to be a huge program today. So let's get started. There was an international public notice put out on the Reign of the Heavens Society Post on 8/20/2017, which was 2 days ago. The committee convened and came together talking about Albert Pike. There have been many rumors about this man, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to show you how this particular man and his beliefs has affected almost everyone in the whole country, and how that has been reversed. So a well-known Luciferian created an overlay survey declaring that the pentagram of Washington, D.C. was in fact a Luciferian symbol, thereby giving credit to a foreign deity well known for nefarious acts against human beings, where credit was not due. Okay, now overlay survey is this. If you walk into a room, you see a bed, you just surveyed the room. There's a room here and there's a bed there. An overlay survey is if you put a sheet on the bed and a couple of blankets. Those are overlay surveys. Now you resurvey the room. Now it's a made bed. The bed has been made. That's the term people use. So did you make your bed today? So means the covers are all over. They're all in good, they've all been folded and everything's there, blah, 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 blah. The pillows are in their place and all that. And it doesn't look like just a big tent in the middle of the bed. So that's the difference. There's a big difference there. Surveys are everything. When this man did an overlay survey of Washington, D.C., it affected everyone. This was done in 1868. Now, the overlay survey filed by Albert Pike was a corruption of the truth of the pentagram and its origins, and therefore caused many people to follow said deception, thereby declaring their persons enemies of human beings and causing fear, strife, and contention among the people. We're going to show you how this affects everyone. An example of a nefarious act committed by Albert Pike's followers can be found in a report issued by the Private Attorney Generals Across America Association, found here. We're going to go to that link. And yes, this case was a Rod class case, but please keep in mind, folks, we're not endorsing Rod class's point of view on this. We're going to go all the way down. What we wanted you to do is go down to page 4 on what the judge said, not what Rod class was doing, okay? Now, except as otherwise provided by statute, the North Carolina Department of Transportation is exempt from the contested case hearing provisions of Chapter 150B of General Statutes. This is dealing with a traffic case. That's all it is, simple traffic case. But in here, the judge basically told everybody everything, okay? Further, the provisions of Chapter 150B were enacted for the express purpose of establishing a uniform system of administrative rulemaking and adjudicatory procedures for agencies. Now, emphasis added, listen carefully. An agency is defined for the purposes of Chapter 150B as follows. Agency means an agency or an officer in the executive branch of the government of this state. You notice that they made it specific between a separation between government and state. And they're calling themselves the U.S. state of, I think it was North Carolina, the government of that state. And the reason why they did is because people didn't put their government together, so they came in and had a government put in place. And they were allowed to do that. And includes the Council of State, the governor's office, a board, a commission, a department, a division, a council, and any other unit of government in the executive branch. A local unit of government is not an agency. Your local government's not an agency. Has nothing to do with the Department of Transportation for the state of North Carolina. Now, thus, a Dallas Police Department as a local unit of government is not an agency under Chapter 150B. Moreover, respondent license plate agency is also not an agency under Chapter 150B because it's a private entity and does not fall within the executive branch of state government. Private entity. That's called a private membership association. Now, if you go to your local and ask them what classification is this local government under, they're going to tell you it's a 501c3. Same as any church, nonprofit organization. Now, keep that in mind. The local, meaning local police. Now, I'm not saying that the local police know any of this, okay? I am saying there are people in there that do know it. However, I'm not saying that all local police know it. I'm not saying all the people that work in the local area know it. Because this is, in my opinion, this is way too big for them to look at from a political science perspective in their situation. Let's go back to Albert Pike's overlay survey. Now, example proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that people with uniforms on a local level do in fact pose as state agencies when they're classified as local units that have nothing to do with the states. They have nothing to do with state governments. Nothing. How is that? It's because they were placed on another survey. They are Luciferian, that's their religion. Private membership associations, that's what Luciferian 501c3 is, that commit a host of human rights violations on a daily basis for the purpose of worshiping their God, committing crimes and filling their pockets with Albert Pike's religious script. That's the pyramid on the back, Illuminati, all that kind of stuff, okay? In Albert Pike's overlay survey, he declares the pentagram as a religious symbol when in fact is language derived from North Africa, created by the Berbers. The pentagram has nothing to do with Baphomet, like it has been depicted here, okay? And that's this symbol right here. Nothing to do with this whatsoever.
What is that, a ram or a goat or what?
They put a goat in there. They throw a ram in there. They throw a Baphomet because I think Baphomet has this ram head, you know?
Yeah, so the shadow part of the picture is a ram or something like that.
So he called it Luciferian. Yeah. He made it a symbol. And pretty much that's been going around, as far as I know, that's been going around for the last 30 years. That Washington, D.C. is a Luciferian city. That's been on the internet for a long time. And it's false. See, Washington, D.C., when they did this, they put this little symbol in here, okay? And you can find some other symbols in the way that they did it here, too. However, that's not what it meant. It was surveyed by this man depicted here. This is what this guy looks like. Okay, that's Albert Pike. That's the Albert Pike that Hillary Clinton idolizes and all these other people. And we're here to tell you guys, you've been fooled. This guy fooled you. He committed a fraud. Because that's not what this means. That's not what this means. Okay, now they even put a statue in here. They memorialized him here. And these people that are Satan worshipers and all that in Washington, D.C., all think this guy was brilliant, and they go by his, there must be 2 world wars, and there must be this, and they're going by his script to the letter, thinking that it was divinely inspired.
Right. And we, in a previous the-t-roh show, you recall, we read a letter from Pike to somebody, I forget who it was, but another member of his crew, talking about the Third World War and how to orchestrate it, pitting the religions against each other. Meanwhile, they reap the benefit.
Right. And we're here to tell you that this man was a fraud. His religion is a fraud. The whole thing is a fraud. We're going to show you how. They use this symbol here. It's supposed to be the Illuminati symbol, blah, blah, blah. All right, this is what this actually symbol means. Therefore, a clear understanding of the symbols is depicted here. It just means, folks, fire, air, water, earth. As above, so below. That's all it means. No Luciferian about it. And was literally stolen. Okay, this symbol here was stolen. We're going to show you who it was stolen from. Okay, the pentagram is not one symbol. It's a combination of 4 letters of an ancient alphabet that placed on top of each other forms a meaning. The pentagram was hijacked by Albert Pike, wherein he corrupted the letters and their meaning, thereby corrupting its purpose and dishonoring himself, his family name, and his origins. Therefore, everyone can see that the fear created by Albert Pike's survey is notwithstanding, and the survey shall be withdrawn from the history books, removed from any form of chain of title, and burnt as trash to be thrown out and never to return again, as if it never was in existence. Okay, further, the statue of Albert Pike should remain as a reminder for future generations to remain forever vigilant against these types of surveys. You got to watch these surveys, guys, that are a corruption of the truth, created by sick people that suffer from an inferiority complex, and turn to surveys that cause fear, strife, and contention in an effort to create a facade of importance and meaning to their ego for the purpose of dominating others. That's all they're doing. It's okay. To associate this symbol here with this is stupid. It's stolen. And what he did was he slandered the city of Washington, D.C. He's been slandering them since 1868. We're going to show you how. Here's the Berbers. Okay? I know you're not seeing that. Hold on one second. As above, so below. That's their symbol. Okay? That's what that symbol means. As above, so below. Don't believe me? Here it is right here. It's right on their flag. You know those people holding the red flags, saying it's communism and everything? It's a country flag.
That's all it is.
And here's the symbol. Here it is. As above, so below. That's all it means. So he's supposed to be depicting that the devil is above, and so he's not. That's not what it means. He completely twisted everything around. It's a total joke. And all you guys have been following Albert Pike and following his teachings and everything else. You've been deceived. He stole the symbol. Your whole symbol is stolen. from an ancient people that have been here and since written history began in North Africa. That's how important this area is. And we went over the Berbers last week when we were talking about, let's talk about racism.
Yeah, that's right. So, so that symbol, what were we talking about? 5,000 years or something, that civilization?
Yeah, it's a little bit long. Yeah, since recorded history.
So older than that.
Yeah, since recorded. These people are have a recorded history before the Chinese. That's huge. So Albert Pike goes in, steals this thing from the original people, which, by the way, where all of us are from, okay? He steals it and then turns it around, creates a completely different survey under the guise of a private membership association, and then hides the private membership association under the 1st, 5th, and 14th Amendment of their Constitution that has no executive power, and separated themselves from the states. And they've been running these Luciferian acts for a long time, stealing kids through CPS, trolling freaking hospitals for children, bashing and slandering the mothers to take their children so they can sell them, going around and slandering old people to take all their stuff, putting it under Agenda 21, blaming the United Nations for it. Their treachery knows no bounds. So, that being said, you guys no longer have a jurisdiction. You don't have a survey anymore. Your survey is a fraud. It's a hoax. It has no standing whatsoever in law anywhere. Even legally, it has no standing. And anyone that follows it and thinks that they can get away with murder and all these things because of a religion, you got another thing coming. Here's the good news. Okay, because the very first thing you're going to do is you're going to go, well, that's not true. You're going to try to disband this. Okay, you're going to try to get rid of it because that's what you do. Okay.
The denial phase.
Denial, the whole thing, right? Okay, because that's what you do. Now, how many of you, I'm talking about Katy Perry. Let's talk about, what's that other girl's name? Britney Spears. All you women and all you folks that sold your soul, so-called, sold your soul to the devil. What happened was, all they did was write a contract to bring you into this survey. That's all that happened, to bring you under the covering of their prophet, so-called prophet, Albert Pike. That's all that happened. That's why it seems miraculous. You're being fooled. There's no miraculous to it. Your emperor is not wearing any clothes, guys. He has no covering. He lied to you. He stole something and tried to make it into something else.
He's what is that term? Charlatan?
Charlatan. It's a liar. And he sits there and has the guts to and use this to sell it to you, calls it the perfection of the Luciferian faith. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, steal the symbol, by the way.
Right. I mean, if it's that powerful, you can't come up with something original.
Right. If it's supposed to be divinely inspired, why didn't he come up with something else? So what we're saying here is this. This has been debunked, folks. Katy Perry, your soul's released. All of your souls are released from any form. Even the dead that went with this, your souls are released from any obligation to this survey, because this survey is a fraud. The survey is a fraud.
from the beginning.
You're not bound contractually, legally, or lawfully in any way, shape, or form to what you signed, even if you signed it in blood. Because it was a fraud. All of your sin falls on this man here, because he's the one that created the fraud in the first place. That's how it is. And you can thank the Most High for that. The Most High Yahweh for that. He released every one of you. Every one of you. Now you're going to feel a little different. By knowing this, you're going to feel a little different. You're going to feel a release coming on. And your priests are going to come back and start lying to you again, to try to get you to do something, and try to, because, and all the reason why they're going to do that, the only reason why they're going to do that is because they're afraid of the liability, because they joined with this charlatan and used his bogus survey to trick you and use you to make money off of you.
Slavery.
That's right. Every one of you slaves, you're released. Your survey was a fraud. Therefore, your contract was a fraud. And since your contract was a fraud, anything, folks, Hollywood, you're free. Anything you signed, it was a fraud. It has no force and effect. If you don't believe it, look up Norton versus Shelby County, 1856, 56 or 58. It's as if it never happened.
So I believe we walked through that case in the T-Roh show also.
Yeah. You're all released. You're going to hear me say that again and again. You're all released. You are not bound by any contract. You did not sell your soul to the devil. It never happened. Because the contract you signed under a survey that you signed was fraud. It never existed. It was based on slander and theft and a corruption of this sick man's mind. Then they're going to come back and say, well, some of it became true. It's because people have been manipulating it, because they were, your priests were deceived too. Because what he did here was take a righteous symbol and converted it into something that it was not. That's a lie. That's a fraud. Depicted it as something else. That had nothing, it was a figment of his imagination. Then started acting on it. So all you movie stars that sign contracts and everything, welcome back to the real world.
Now that's what you call a bombshell.
That's what I'm talking about. And yeah, we can say bomb because we're not on a plane. Okay. This was divinely inspired. And we're going to show you something else that was divinely inspired. This is the Reign of the Heavens Healing Center. This was started a long while ago. And we didn't really do it. It's in the hands of a trustee, but we really didn't do much with it. We just did our thing. Okay. This is called silver infusion. Now keep in mind, this is not colloidal silver whatsoever. Not colloidal silver at all. We have the man that manages the manufacturing company that makes this. We're going to be sharing some stories with you that are absolutely amazing. Okay. The silver infusion is it's not metal particles going into your body that turns your skin gray. Your body cannot absorb metal. So all these people that are putting these probes in the water and not making ions out of them, they're just making silver particles. That's probably one of the dumbest ways to do it. This is on the ion level. And this stuff does some miraculous things. Absolutely miraculous. We're going to introduce you to Greg. Say hello, Greg.
Hello. Here.
Now, Greg's been doing this, since 2008 or 2006?
2008.
2008. Can you tell them a little bit about your story and some of the things that you did, like some of the research you did, and how foolish actually ended up being? Or what you found?
Are you talking about the colloidal silver makers?
Yeah, just stuff like that. Just the things that you found, because you did a lot of research, and the things that you found that just did not make any sense.
Yeah, it's actually been proven with numerous studies. Rice University was one of them. That nano-sized particle of silver doesn't really do anything in the body, and your body can't use the particles of silver. There's been a lot of studies by different doctors, different scientists, that have found out that the only thing that really works in your body is an ion of silver. And an ion of silver is an atom-sized particle of silver that's been electrically charged. And what happens is we found a technique to actually slough the
You there?
Appears we lost him.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry about that. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, you broke up a little. May want to start.
Is this your first time on a radio program?
A radio program? I didn't know we were on a radio program.
Yeah, you're on a radio program. Is it the first time being on one?
No.
Okay, well, just relax. Everything's cool.
Well, my problem is, I told you earlier, I didn't sleep a wink last night, and
Okay.
My brain just shut off. I was trying to think of electron, and I couldn't even come up with the word. So
Okay, all right, go ahead. Do your best. We'll help you out.
all right, so
Okay, I'm going to go over to the silver, your website. Okay.
you got me nervous.
Okay, all right. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Go ahead. We were talking about the metals, okay, going into the body. They couldn't do anything with it and went to the silver ions, electrically charged positively.
Right, and the way you charge an ion is to electrically remove an electron, which makes the atom an ion, and the ion is positively charged, and that's what kills the viruses, the bacteria, the germs, all that, and that's what actually works in your body. Actually, I don't know if you want to get into this right now, but it actually creates stem cells when it interacts with human cells. They instantly create stem cells, which is a huge deal.
Okay. Now, there's a thing called parts per million, I believe. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's another thing that the colloidal silver makers will try to sell you parts per million. And, I've seen them, 500 parts per million, 300 parts per million, 200 parts per million. It's just a sales tactic. Those particles are not really good for you to ingest. especially at that high of a parts per million. Anything between 15 to 20% or 15 to 20 parts per million, the silver starts to precipitate out of the solution, out of the colloidal solution. So that's why they have to put it in dark bottles. They have to protect it from the sunlight.
So we're not talking about metal. We're talking about ions. So
talking about
go ahead.
atoms, yes. Atom-sized particles.
Okay. All right.
Not nano-sized particles.
Hold on 1 second, Greg. All right. Before we start boring everybody to death on what this is, I've been using this product for like 3 weeks. Okay. I first started it on a sore that I had that hadn't healed for like 2 months. Well, it started healing. It started filling up. I said, well, I don't feel any, this is like 3 days. I don't feel any weird adverse effects. So I said, okay, I'm going to try it in my mouth. So I started spraying it in my mouth. And I did a couple of sprays in the morning, a couple of sprays in the evening. That was it. It comes in a bottle mist, a mist sprayer. And about 3 days, 4 days later, I started looking at my gums, and I've had gum problems for a very long time, about 15, 20 years. And, obviously not, do not have access to any medical care. So I wasn't able to go to the dentist or anything of that nature. Now, gums are almost pink. Almost, just a little bit. They just got about a couple more days to go. Almost pink again. Healed up. Had to use Sensodyne. Sensitive teeth, the whole thing, that's going away. A lot of things are being cleared up. Got a chigger attack, bad one, about a week and a half ago, which would normally take about a month or so to clear up. It's all cleared up. You can spray this stuff on cuts. Just, you don't have to put any sutures in there. You don't have to put any stitches. You just tape it together, spray it on there. How long does that normally take?
3 to 4 days. The most. That's completely sealed shut tight. You'll notice the wounds will go back together kind of magically in 3 to 4 minutes. Sometimes it takes longer. Sometimes, but if you get a major injury, my daughter had a major injury in her hand. She went through a barbed wire fence on a 4-wheeler, and she had from thumb to heel, it was about a 4-inch gouge, and it was about 3/8 inch wide. And we were at a 4th of July party, and these people were telling me to put her on the ambulance because it was a major injury. And they were kind of upset at me at the time because I said, well, just hold on. I'm going to spray the silver infusion on it. And if this doesn't work, then I'll take her to the hospital myself. So I started spraying it on there every 2 to 3 minutes. Within 15 minutes, you could see a noticeable difference in the wound. It wasn't this big. 5 minutes later, literally 5 minutes later, a total of 20 minutes, the wound was completely sealed tight from end to end. There was no visible, you couldn't see it into the flesh at all. There was a couple bubbles of bloody water coming out of it. That was it. I sprayed it again with silver. I put a piece of shipping tape over it, and we left it on there for 4 days. We took it off, and it was healed. There was still a scar there. But I don't know the exact time frame, but 3 to 4 months maybe. The scar was completely gone. So today she has 0 scar where that major wound happened.
Okay, I've got a screen share on a guy's testimonial here, and I know you have a bunch of them, by the way. And you started doing testing in 2008, right? You tested it for a couple of years.
Yes, yeah, it was some independent tests were done. The man that invented the machine, he did most of the testing in Florida.
Okay. And then you have, how do you pronounce, is it sarcoidosis?
Sarcoidosis?
Is that sarcoidosis? Is that what it's called?
Sarcoidosis, I guess.
Okay.
I can't pronounce it either.
Okay. Since my early 20s, this is just a testimonial, folks. It says, am now in my early 60s, very energetic. It is an exclusive disease that can be dormant for years, then start causing problems. It has caused infections in me. Over the last 10 years, I've been in the hospital for a month on intravenous antibiotics. Several years ago, both legs became infected and antibiotics for 6 months. 2 years later, the same infection in both legs, stronger antibiotics for 9 months, and continued the same pattern, only shorter time periods. He took 10 parts per million colloidal silver for years, then 20 parts per million, then most recently for the last few years, 30 parts per million colloidal silver was an alternative to chemical antibiotics, basically built up an immunity. Okay, so this is silver infusions, not colloidal silver, folks. Just realize that that's not what we're talking about. I have to say that a couple of different times because we're not talking about colloidal silver. After researching and finding silver infusion, been taking it for about 6 weeks. It is getting the infection that is in my bones as well. See, this stuff goes into all kinds of places. It gets to the heart of what's going on. Took strong antibiotics, Keflex, that gets the infection in the blood and bones, have steadily increased the silver infusion dosage to find the right amount that works for me. Silver infusion is doing more to clear up the infection in a short period than colloidal silver and various herbs have done for years. They basically kept me treading water. Can see and feel a difference with silver infusion. Life and work in a studio, actually a 2-car garage, was converted into a studio in the Evergreen section of San Jose, California, basically mid to high income section of San Jose. Average home is 500 to 800K. Many multi-million homes in this area. Have lived for 6 years, have a home-based business. There are 2 dogs that live here that have infections. Dogs. Noticed it about 3 years ago. They are not my dogs. The owner is in his early 30s. Has been gone for 6 months at a time. His mother was taking care of dogs the best she could. She passed a little over a year ago. Remind me, folks, that story about his daughter's hand, imagine what that would do for soldiers. Having been fed the dogs and taken care of it of then as best I could, both have infections. One of the dogs has had an infection get to the point that there became an open bleeding sore recently. Put antibiotic cream on the open sore and started giving the dog colloidal silver with some results. However, the infection did not fully clear up, and there was the smell of infection coming from the dog. Had been adding silver infusion in the dog's water and food. The open sore in the dog started scarring a little with the colloidal silver, but fully cleared up after the few weeks with the silver infusion. The smell of the infection is gone, and the dog has more energy, similar with the other dog. So am using silver infusion for all 3 of us with very effective results, and 6+ weeks, intended to continue using silver infusion on all 3 of us. Have seen many doctors, herbal doctors, alternative healers, doctors from China, and acupuncture, and various herbal drinks over the last 40 years, is all well intended. However, there's not enough known about sarcoidosis. I think that's how you say it. And basically, there's no cure if it needs to be managed effectively. The results from silver infusion over the last 6 weeks have proven to me that the infection is being targeted at the source, and the results have been much greater than the colloidal silver or chemical antibiotics for years. It took 40 years to get to this point. It will take a while for the sarcoidosis to get cleared up. However, have felt better than I have felt in many years. And that's the weird part about it, because I actually have more energy all the time with this since I've been using it. Tony, you've been taking it too.
Yep.
And you have major back problems.
That's right. I've had a back injury and neck injury since about 93. I've been living with this for 24 years, and very limited mobility and ability to lift heavy items. And just recently I made a move from one place to another. And normally under the activity that it would take to move. After the move, I would be in bed completely immobile for 3 days in major pain. And so I took some of this silver infusion, and I noticed while I was moving that I had more energy. And after the move, I was expecting to maybe be laid up the next day in pain, and I woke up and felt all right. I mean, I felt good to the point where I was able to get up and, keep on going with unpacking and cleaning the house and stuff. So that was the first time that has ever happened. And the pain was cleared up, and I've been feeling good since. So, man, as like I'm saying, I've never felt this before. And I'm really grateful that this came about, and want to thank Greg for it, and hope others will, have the same benefits from it.
I think we were talking about this on the National Assembly last night, and Greg was right. He said everybody has their own story, and everybody does. There was a dog that was had parvo. How many people have lost dogs from parvo? It's supposed to be it's a horrendous infection. And I don't know if you want to call it a disease, but it's a horrendous infection. It clears it right up. How long did that take?
Well, I was informed on a Tuesday night by a friend of mine that her dog had parvo and was sent home from the vet to die because they didn't want to charge her another $800 to keep it for the next 2 or 3 days until it did die. And the vet said that the puppy was going to die. And it was bleeding. It was pooping and peeing blood. It was very listless. And so she said, just take it home and keep it comfortable and just know that he's going to die. And so she told me that story on a Tuesday night. And so I gave her a bottle of silver infusion. And I told her to go home and spray in the dog's mouth. He doesn't have to drink the water. He just spray it in his mouth, every hour to 2 hours. And so she did it until she went to bed, and then she got up in the morning, did it again. And on Thursday, 2 days later, she works at a restaurant. I went back in to see her or to have dinner, and she come running up to me and said, oh my gosh, the dog is walking around. He's playful. He's eating his food. He's doing all this stuff. And this was just 2 days later. And so she went to the vet on the following Tuesday, which was 8 days later from when she was sent home to die. And the vet said, what did you do to this dog? And she showed him the bottle of silver infusion. And she said, I've never heard of that. But the dog, she said the dog had a 100% clean bill of health on the following Tuesday after he was sent home to die from the hospital. So, I mean, we have story after story after story like that. And it's just an amazing product. My daughter, she got a tattoo about 1.5 years ago, and she ended up getting MRSA, and it wouldn't go away. And she called me. I was out of state at the time. She called me up, and I sent her. I think it was 6 32-ounce bottles, and I told her, I said, you drink a quarter cup every 4 hours, and for 3 or 4 days, and spray it on the MRSA. And she was scared to death. The doctor had nothing but bad things to say. He said, the MRSA's not ever going to go away. You're going to have it forever, and just come and go. And she was scared. So anyway, she did the protocol, and within 2 days, it was almost gone. By the 3rd day, it was gone from her skin. And I told her, I said, you just keep ingesting that for the next week. Just keep doing at least a quarter cup a day. And she hasn't had any recurrence whatsoever. The MRSA went away relatively easy. And that's something that hospitals, have a big, huge problem with all across the country, is the MRSA. The infection rates are incredible. And this product, will kill pretty much everything it touches. The bad bacteria, viruses.
Yeah, it will kill the bad stuff, not the good stuff. You see?
No, I wanted to make that clear.
Yeah. All right.
And it even does that in your stomach too. It actually kills the bad bacteria, but it doesn't seem to harm good bacteria for reasons I'm not clear about.
Interesting on that. Okay, this past summer there was some folks that went to they visited their boys who live in the same city, and both have some recreation watercraft. They also live just a few short miles from a very large lake. So we all went to the lake, and the names are at the bottom of these testimonials. So they're not made up. These are actual people. My husband is very fair skinned, and before long he came off the water looking like a very overdone lobster. Ah, man, I've been there. Okay, I know what that is. His legs were so badly burned he could hardly get off the watercraft. After a little more time at the lake, it was nearly sundown. He was barely moving. When we got out, this is the reason why I wanted to read this one, because this does work. It says, when we got to the kid's house, I told him to soak some paper towels in ionic silver and put them on his legs. He immediately did so. He said the fire feeling left almost immediately. The redness took a little longer, but by the end of 2 days with continual soaking, I am sure he had third-degree burns. The color was practically gone, and he did not even blister or peel. We had taken a couple of bottles of silver infusion with us. Thank God we did, because not only did my husband burn, but also our daughter-in-law had oversunned herself as well. So we had her soak with the silver, and it's just a short time, and she was okay. I'm going to tell you this because chigger bites itch like you would not believe. I mean, it's bad. I would spray the silver on the chigger bites, and the itch would completely go away within 3 to 4 seconds. And it would stay away for hours. Then when it started itching again, I'd do it again. 3 or 4 seconds, folks. I'm not kidding. I'm not making this up. 3 or 4 seconds, the itch was gone. Now, I would put other stuff, anti-itch crap on there, and it would still itch. But now I just have the crap on there and itching at the same time. I put this on, gone. Itch goes away. One of our delegates, his leg, he was supposed to be on today, but he's not. But I'll forward what he said last night. And this was all recorded and on record. He had surgery 5 years ago on his knee. He had limited mobility. He's had a limp for 5 years. He sprayed this on. 3 days later, the pain was gone, and he had full mobility on his leg. He has no more limp. Completely gone. His lungs, he used to be on the calls, and you could hear him breathing like that. That's what it sounded like. And I was worried. He said this cleared up his lungs. There's no more issues like that.
And he's only been using it for
2 weeks.
10 days, 2 weeks. I have so many of those stories. It's an emotional thing for me, because I have never in my life that I ever expect to see something like this. But this product does so many things so well. My neighbor one time called me up and was all excited, and she said that, she sprayed the silver infusion on her neck because she had really tight, tense muscles, and she said instantly pain and the tightness went away. And I tried to convince her. This was about 9 years ago. I tried to convince her that, I said, well, that doesn't do that. And she said, well, I know I'm not crazy. She goes, I sprayed it on there, and it was instantly, it's gone. She goes, I'm feeling right now. The tension's gone, the pain's gone, everything's gone. And she said, do you have any sore muscles? And I said, yeah, my neck's really tight. She goes, well, spray it on there. And I said, okay. And I sprayed it on there. And she said, well, how's it feel? And I said, well, it feels the same. I said, it doesn't do that. And so she kind of was a little bit upset at me because I wouldn't believe her, but she got off the phone, and I'm back to my computer working. And about 15 minutes later, I started feeling this weird pull in my neck, and I reached around and on my left shoulder, and I felt where I'd sprayed, and then my trapezius muscle was completely like a noodle. I mean, just completely noodle, and my other side was still tense. So my muscles were starting to pull on my head. And this was after 15 minutes. And so I sprayed the other side, and it took another 15 minutes, but both sides completely melted muscle to, I'm not exaggerating one bit, like wet noodles, and stayed that way for 3 weeks. Completely noodle-like for 3 weeks. And for me, one of the points I need to make is, for me, it took 15 minutes. For her, it was instant. And for you, it might be a different time for the triggers. It might be slightly different for somebody else, but it's going to work for, pretty much everybody. I had a gal the other day that had a headache, and she was looking around for some Tylenol. I said, why don't you use your silver? Because she's a customer of mine. Because you works for headaches? I said, yeah, it works for headaches. And so I am not kidding. She walked over and I sprayed it on her face. She goes, well, I don't want to run my makeup. And I just sprayed it on there really lightly. She turned around, went back to work, and she just kind of mumbled something to herself. She goes, my headache's gone. And I said, your headache's gone? She goes, yeah, it's gone. And there was a couple other people there at the time, and he said, no. And he said, yeah, it's absolutely gone. And it took her, this was, I mean, if I hadn't seen it, I wouldn't have believed it. But it was 4 seconds. And she said, yeah, it took about 4 seconds to take her headache away. She goes, I think it's because she had a bun on her head. And she goes, I think maybe it's because this thing's pulling on my head. I think that's why I might have a headache. I don't know. But her headache was gone, didn't come back. So, and she's a huge advocate of the product. I mean, she actually bought another bottle that night, but she's been buying it. And she had a bad tooth infection when she first bought it. And she sprayed it on there. The pain went away immediately, and it never came back. And that just totally impressed her, because pain never came back. Within 2 weeks, there was another gal that had, she came into work, and she had a big golf ball sticking out of her cheek. And I said, what's going on? She goes, oh my gosh, I can't even talk. She goes, my tooth isn't impacted. And so I said, well, you need some silver infusion. So I sold her some silver infusion. She came in to pick up her check, and she left, and she got out in her car, and she sprayed in her mouth, and she switched it around. She said by the time she got home, which was about 15 minutes later, she goes, the pain was completely gone, and it didn't come back for her either. So this product, I mean, I could sit here all day and talk about this product, because it does amazing things. I mean, amazing things. And the Parvo was really exciting, because I understand there's a huge market for that. How many people lose their dogs to Parvo? And this can stop it at a very minimal cost. Another thing too I wanted to mention to you is that a few years back I did some experiments with vegetables and fruits, and I took a cucumber and I washed it all off, and I cut it in half, and I put one half in a baggie, a Ziploc baggie, and the other half in a Ziploc baggie. But I sprayed the one with silver infusion, and I didn't put anything on the other one. I just left it like it was. Well, after about 3 weeks, the one without silver infusion was completely mushy and moldy and gross. The one with silver infusion had about a 1/16 of an inch yellow looking. It was kind of a yellow. It wasn't white like the cucumber is. It was more of a yellow, a light yellow. But it only went in about a 1/16 of an inch. So I cut about a 1/4 of an inch off and cut a piece for me. And that cucumber was as crisp and tasted as good as the day I cut it. I mean, it was amazing. And it preserves, fruits, berries, all kinds of fruits. And that's another application that we've been thinking about going into is in the grocery stores. They throw out so much food because of waste. There's a huge application for that there.
Another story for the readers, our daughter-in-law has a pool cleaning service, which she and other women run all by themselves. They did attend some very intense schooling on how to mix chemicals and such. But on one day, as they were going from one client to another, they had a mishap and some chemicals spilled in the back of their truck. They quickly found a car wash area, thinking that if they washed the chemicals, she had a little typo there, out of the truck, they would be okay. Well, somehow the soaps at the car wash did not mix well with the chemicals, and there was a big explosion of sorts. Can you imagine being at the car wash? Bam! There was a giant cloud of smoke that arose, and therefore they could get away. Before they could get away from the truck to a safe place, they were involved in the cloud, and immediately their eyes and nostrils were burned. Ooh, that's bad. They washed their eyes with water, and as soon as they could see well enough, they headed home to shower. We happened to be there at this time as well, so I told her quickly, pour some silver infusion into her eyes. And she did, which she did. They quickly eased up, and I told her to swab her nostrils with the silver infusion, which she did. They quickly eased, and well. Then I told her to shower, then bathe with the silver. After she rinsed the shower soap off, this really helped. We are so thankful for the knowledge that we have gained about ionic silver infusion, not colloidal silver, ionic silver infusion, and many benefits of its uses. Of course, we take it internally every day, and my husband and I have been have not been sick for so long. We truly enjoy living a healthy life because we are quite active. We are in our mid 60s, and we love to go to I don't know what quad riding is, as often as the weather allows, because we live near mountains and they are so beautiful to explore. And that was done by Joanne and Richard. And there are others on his site. Now, folks, you're probably wondering, how do I get this? Okay, and this is set up in a way that silver infusion is not sold to the general public. We don't sell it to them. The Rain of the Heavens Society Healing Center has a contract, and you can buy it off of the Rain of the Heavens healingcenter.com. This is until some other legal matters have to be taken care of in dealing with silver infusion, so that you can buy them from them also if you'd like. We're not trying to create a monopoly here, but we'd like to see this get out as soon as possible. And whatever the Rain of the Heavens Healing Center gets will be going towards a building so that people can come in. We would like to have doctors in there, medical doctors. We'd like to have nurses and everybody in the Rain of the Heavens Healing Center and running the center to do business with members. Okay, so within the Rain of the Heavens Healing Center, within its constitution, bylaws, and organizations, it has a co-op there, and that co-op is for the people that would like to become members. Okay, so just keep in mind, if it's ordered off of the Rain of the Heavens healingcenter.com, you are an automatic member. We do not sell to the public. Okay, you can be a member of the co-op, and you're going to think, well, what kind of obligation is that? Really, none. It's all very civil. We are within the Rain of the Heavens Healing Center co-op. What we're doing is we're going to make a monthly payment type deal to where people that are injured and all that may go to the hospital and they don't necessarily get a bill. The hospital will bill the co-op. Okay, but you will have to pay for the wholesale price of the products that are used in the hospital. That way we can cover expenses and it doesn't get too expensive for everyone. We've been looking for something like silver infusion for a very long time. I think the Rain of the Heavens Healing Center has been there for a year or two. And we just waited. We were patient. And here it is. Divinely inspired. The Rain of the Heavens Healing Center is within the sphere of the Rain of the Heavens and the temple. So you do not have to be a temple member. What we do is you can join right here. Just join us, and you have a member login, or say, I can't afford this. Okay, I can't afford this. It's not expensive. This price right here, $55.95, it's 16-ounce silver infusion bottle. That'll last you quite a while. And that also includes the shipping. It's a flat rate shipping cost. Okay, this is normally be $47, and the shipping is over and above that. And we just added it into the price. So no shipping, just that's the price for a 16-ounce bottle. And you can also say, I can't afford the $55.95. No problem. Here's the gallon, which is $263.75. That's that also includes shipping. You can always go to the 8-ounce, which is $38.95. You can use that, do just the same. Each one of these comes with a sprayer, except for the 32. And if you can't afford it, you can become an affiliate. You'll get paid 20% of the on this one here it's 47. So 20% of the 47 will go to you, so that you can afford silver infusion. The main thing here, folks, is not to get rich. What we're trying to do is get this into the hands of people that need it. Even with U.S. soldiers that have major problems with chemicals and things like that they get into, wounds and things like that, this can be used. This can help them out. Not that we're endorsing taking over countries. That's not what I'm saying. A lot of them are on peacekeeping missions, and the reality is, in today's world, you got to have a military. That's all there is to it. If police officers get hurt, if they get shot, they can be used. This can be used to help heal their wounds. It could possibly save their life. So why not do what works?
It could also be used in maybe like restaurant applications where the work space needs to be disinfected. I did read it kills 99.99% of viruses and bacteria. So that would also work there.
Absolutely. Be great for public health.
Yep.
Also for burns, it is incredible. We already talked a little bit about that, but sunburns are, I have so many stories about sunburns, but just regular burns. And I actually burned my hand one time, draining my oil. I drained it when it was hot, and when I took the plug out, it drained all over my hand and burned me pretty good. And I just wiped it off with a towel. I didn't even wash it. And I sprayed the silver on there. It worked right through the oil, which surprised me. So it worked right through the oil, and it stopped the pain immediately and never hurt again.
Yeah, because those burns hurt, man. I mean, when you get burnt, that hurts for a long time. It really does.
Yeah, it does. It also takes the pain away from cuts and abrasions. I didn't tell you guys the story. I had my friend. I was out at his house this weekend, and he had a chicken that was being henpecked, and it was laying there. It was bad. I don't even want to describe it, but chicken was laying there, just letting this other chicken just peck it to death. I mean, it had holes in it. It was amazing. I mean, and it was gross. And so he was going to kill it. And I said, well, and he's never been a proponent of my product. He's just real stubborn. He thinks it's something, but anyway, so he put the chicken in another pen, and I immediately sprayed it with the silver infusion, and immediately the bird perked up because, and I'm, I don't know for sure, but took his pain away. And he was just laying there just so listless, and he took his pain away. Well, that, the next day that bird was fine. He had about a 3-inch round place where none of his feathers were all pecked off, and he had holes in him, but it healed up right away, and he was fine after that. He just can't, they tried to put him back in with the other chicken, but because of the scab, they kept pecking at it. So they kept him away from it, but it completely healed him up and took his pain away. You could tell because he just wasn't listless anymore. He was up walking around, eating, drinking.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Because I've had chickens, man, and you end up feeding the local vermin.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, everything eats your chickens. It's unbelievable. You're out there and you got 5 chickens dead, you know? It's like, why do I even come out here anymore? You know, that's what you feel like. You're frustrated, but yeah, if that could do it, awesome. Plus they get mites and that kills them too. It's bad. So it might help that. But
the the bird flu
yeah,
is another area that, I've been, I went and talked to a chicken farmer, and he said that it was really hard to get anything into their chicken coop. You had to wear certain clothes when you went in there, rain gear, boots, couldn't just walk in there. So they're real particular. But, I tried to explain to him that you just add it to their water and that bird flu is gone. They're not going to get bird flu. They're going to have the healthiest chickens around.
Well,
Wow.
it sounds like it would be good for organic farmers where they don't want to use antibiotics on their livestock. They can potentially
Absolutely.
do this.
Amazing stuff, man. It's and I've been actually amazed. If I had not used this, guys, how skeptical was I? I thought, yeah, well, let's just see let's see if this guy's lying. That's that's what I told everybody. And I said, let's see if Greg's lying or not. And I started testing it on myself just to see what would happen. And he's not lying. He's not a liar.
Oh, and I actually go the other way. I have so many stories, and I haven't posted even a smidgen of them. But it's just so many stories out there, and I get emotional. I mean, I get highly emotional because I'm at the forefront. I get to see and hear all the things that it's going on, and like I said, everybody's going to have their stories. Stories. If they will, one of the things I've found out over the years is that people hide their silver from themselves. So instead of having it out on the counter where everybody can see it and know it's there and get used to it, they put it in a cupboard and they forget to use it. And I ask them, they tell me they got sick or they got the flu or they got a cold or whatever. I said, well, have you been using your silver? Oh, I forgot. You forgot. My best friend, the other day, he came by and he had a big sore on his leg. He got burned on some muffler or something. And I said, that's all infected. I said, what, are you spraying your silver on it? He goes, oh, no, I can't find it. So I gave him another bottle and sprayed it on there. He was going on vacation at the time, and I haven't talked to him since. But anyway, that's people have to realize you have to leave it out. You really do. No matter how much you love it, you got to leave it out so you can see it and remember it. And I don't know why that's such a problem. I don't have that problem. I immediately go, and my family's the same way too. I mean, they never leave home without it, basically.
Well, they're used to living under the doom and gloom of the Albert Pike survey, so they're not used to they're used to living under doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
And it came from that. It's everything in this world, whether anybody knows it or not, is spiritual. There are spiritual things that we deal with, and I'm not talking about ghosts and things like that. I'm saying that it affects everybody whether they know it or not. So this has been around for what, 9 years now?
Yes.
9 years, folks, and you haven't heard about it. Well, you heard about it now. Heard about it on the T-Roh show. It is available. We do not sell to the public, nor does Silver Infusion sell to the public. You have to be a member. If you're a member, you're good to go. You can get it all you want. And if you want to share it with your friends, you can become an affiliate and make a little on the side. Now, eventually, this will be sold with Continental dollars. If we had folks that would take Continental dollars, we would have 50 of Rain of the Heavens Healing Center in every, we would have 50 or all around the country within a matter of 3 months. We have plenty of Continental dollars to use. We would have 50 healing centers around the country, which would solve a lot of problems for a lot of people. And what do? We solve problems. That's what government does, solves problems. So if you'd like, just go over to rainoftheheavenshealingcenter.com. Like I said, Silver Infusion does not sell to the public. It sells to members and friends and things like that, or people like that. And you can get it there, no problem. How long does it normally take for them to get it? couple of days, 3 days?
Yeah, usually within 3 days.
Okay. And they can have it. And people are going to ask a bunch of questions. The best thing to do is try it. You're going to have your own story. Does it do this? Does it do that? Just try it. You're going to have your own story. Because it's shocked you, hasn't it? I mean, it's shocked you in a couple of different areas. Things that you didn't know it actually did.
Right. All the time.
Yeah.
It's happened in the last 9 years. I just keep going. I just shake my head. I really do. I mean, you know, my grandkids have grown up on it, and they've been asking me to send them some for my son had been asking me to send him some for a couple months, and I finally sent him a case of it, and they called me up and thanked me. Oh, thank you, Grandpa, for giving us the silver. I mean, they use it for everything, and they, you know, diaper rash. Their kids have never had diaper rash. Ear infections. You just, you know, put a few drops in the ear, and the pain goes away. You don't have to go get those nasty pharmaceutical antibiotics. It's just, you know, on and on and on. Athlete's foot. It's good. Skin, especially skin stuff. You can use it in your eyes. It's safe to drink. You can drink, you know, you can drink 10 gallons of it with no ill effects. That's how safe it is. It's completely safe. There's 2 ingredients, ultra pure medical grade water and 5 parts per million of ions of silver. And that is it.
Well,
completely safe.
Yeah, you don't, and just from somebody who does take it, you don't feel it. You don't feel things happening. It just happens. That's the weird part. Am I right, Tony? It's like you just feel it. You don't feel anything happening. It just happens. You think you did something, and it, you know, you're waiting for some feeling, you know, or some kind of reaction, right?
Yep.
That's what it feels like, but you don't feel it. All of a sudden, you look down and it's gone. It's like, where'd that go?
Well, that's how I was when I woke up the next morning after moving, and I was moving around. You know, I was kind of in shock.
Yeah, how am I moving around?
Right.
That's kind of what it feels like. So that's our own, you know, personal testimonies on this. And like I said, we don't put this out unless we at least tried it ourselves to see what if whoever is trying to, you know, sell us something here, or trying to, you know, usually lying to us or whatever. That's usually what happens, but not in this case. It's not in this case at all. So there you go, folks. There's your 2 bombshells. Thank you for listening to the T-Roh Show. We appreciate all of the subscribers. Please remember to subscribe and try it out. And congratulations on for all the movie stars in Hollywood that have been fighting this thing for a long time. What do they normally tell them? You're free to go. You're released.
They could walk with a spring in their step now.
That's right. Say goodbye, guys.
Talk to you next week.
See you next week.